There's a handful of slot machines scattered across casino floors that almost nobody pays attention to. And here's the kicker. They're not out of order, and they're definitely not glitches. According to former casino employees, these overlooked games are deliberately tucked away with some very peculiar settings. And casinos are hoping you never notice them. Why? Because each one gives low-budget players an unusually decent shot at a jackpot windfall. What you're about to learn could completely change the way you hunt for big wins on a small budget. Let's start with the first slot you'll almost never see advertised. Machine number 1, Blazing Sevens Triple Jackpot. This three-reel mechanical slot has been around since the early 2000s, and it looks like a relic beside today's flashy video games. According to a former floor manager from Caesar's Palace, Blazing Sevens Triple Jackpot carries a return-to-player, RTP, around 96 to 97%, depending on its configuration. That's dramatically higher than most modern penny slots, which hover in the 88 to 94% range. In plain terms, this old-school game gives back far more to players over time than the shiny new machines around it. It's the opposite of eye-catching. Just 3 physical reels with classic 7 symbols and a basic jackpot meter. No giant video screen, no movie branding, no elaborate bonus rounds. And that simplicity is exactly why casinos never hype it up. Former employees say Blazing Sevens Triple Jackpot only brings in about $180 per day in profit for the house. Meanwhile, a modern crowd pleaser like Buffalo in a prime spot can pull over $600 a day. Same floor space, triple the revenue on the Buffalo. You see why the casino would rather push the Buffalo and bury the Blazing Sevens. Here's how you find one. These machines are almost always stashed in off-corner positions, never in main walkways. At MGM properties, insiders report they're usually tucked near older table games or in back sections of the floor. In many tribal casinos, look in the original, non-renovated gaming areas away from the glitzy new slots. The key giveaway is the hardware itself, mechanical reels spinning behind glass instead of video screens. And check the glass carefully. If the title says Triple Jackpot, you found the higher-paying version. One ex-slot technician from Atlantic City noted something fascinating. These units need more upkeep. Belts, motors, moving parts, they're high maintenance compared to digital slots. Casinos keep a few running mostly to avoid angering loyal old-timers who would riot if their favorite classic vanished. But economically, the math barely justifies it. Maintenance costs plus that low profit mean a Blazing Sevens Triple Jackpot is just squeaking by. No wonder you'll never see it featured in a flashy casino ad. Now, here's a quirky secret most people don't realize. Because it's fully mechanical, seasoned players swear you can literally hear when it's about to hit big. There's a faint shift in the sound of the reels whenever a high-value combo is coming. It's not a guaranteed tell by any means, but it's the kind of subtle clue you'd never get from a digital machine. In fact, former employees say some die-hard gamblers would camp on stools near these games, just listening for those patterns, ready to pounce when they think a jackpot is on deck. For low-budget jackpot hunters, Blazing Sevens Triple Jackpot is a hidden gem. Its generous payback lets a small bankroll stretch for more spins, giving you a better shot at eventually lining up those 3 Blazing Sevens. The jackpot payout on this machine might not buy you a mansion, but for a minimal bet, it can still deliver a thrilling windfall. Now, you might be wondering, if this slot is so player-friendly and unprofitable for the house, why do casinos keep it at all? Why not rip out every high-paying machine? We'll get to that soon. But first, let's talk about a game that casinos hide for a completely different reason. Machine number 2, Ultimate X Video Poker Triple Play. Now, this isn't a typical slot machine with reels, but it sits out on the casino floor and ex-employees consistently whisper about it. Especially the triple play variety where you play 3 hands at once. Why? Because this game has a quirk that clever low-budget gamblers can exploit, and casinos absolutely hate it. It comes down to one unique feature: multipliers that carry over between players. Here's how it works. In Ultimate X, whenever you hit a winning hand, you earn a multiplier for your next hand. If you build up a bunch of multipliers and then cash out before using them, those multipliers stay on the machine. The next player who sits down essentially inherits your leftover bonus. Stumbling upon an Ultimate X triple play machine with, say, a 12 times multiplier still active from the last person is basically like finding free money. So why on earth would anyone leave a machine with a huge multiplier still loaded? Before I answer that, do me a quick favour. Hit subscribe if you love these insider deep dives. And drop a comment if you've ever won big out of pure luck. Thanks. Now, back to the question. The truth is, most people have no clue the multipliers persist. Casual players often assume any bonus resets when they cash out. Others get frustrated after a losing streak and walk away, not realising they've set the next player up for a jackpot chance. And occasionally, someone just runs out of time or has a plane to catch. One way or another, plenty of folks unknowingly leave value behind on these machines. And whoever finds it next gets an instant edge. From the casino's perspective, this is a quiet disaster. It's not cheating or against any rule, but it wrecks the profit margin on that machine. A former slot analyst from the Cosmopolitan mentioned that if Ultimate X sits in a busy area, you'll literally have people circling like vultures, checking the screens for any dangling multipliers. In fact, some diehards develop daily routines, walking through multiple casinos, scanning every Ultimate X for abandoned bonuses. It's perfectly legal advantage play, but it's exactly what casinos don't want happening. In response, casinos executed a sneaky two-part strategy. First, they stopped promoting Ultimate X altogether. No ads, no mentions in the Players Club mailers, nothing. They basically pretend it doesn't exist. Second, they banish these games to the most inconvenient corners of the floor. Former staff report Ultimate X machines hidden near parking garage entrances, in dead-end hallway nooks, even next to employee-only doors where regular guests rarely venture. One X4 supervisor said his casino placed their Ultimate X units by an employee breakroom corridor, figuring that any strange patron hanging around there checking machines would quickly draw staff attention. Casinos have even removed players who got too good at exploiting this quirk. In one case, a group of friends was banned from the Tropicana in 2017 for being too efficient at sniffing out leftover multipliers. According to a former security supervisor who was there, the team coordinated via text messages, each person roaming different sections and alerting the others the moment they found a machine with big multipliers still on it. They weren't cheating at all, but management used the right to refuse service to kick them out anyway. After word spread, other Vegas casinos quietly adopted similar policies to deter these kinds of advantage hunters. Now, how do you recognize an Ultimate X triple play if you're on the lookout? Visually, it's a video poker game displaying 3 hands stacked vertically with the Ultimate X logo and a multiplier chart on the screen. Not every multi-hand poker game is Ultimate X. And Ultimate X also comes in 5-hand and 10-hand versions. But it's the 3-hand version that hits the sweet spot casinos fear, because the risk-reward balance attracts the sharps. Here's the wildest part. Casinos can't just remove or disable the multiplier feature. That's the whole point of the game. And they can't yank every video poker machine without facing customer outrage and possibly regulatory questions. So, they're stuck living with Ultimate X Triple Play, a game that low rollers could use to tilt odds in their favour. Hiding it in the shadows and watching like hawks is basically the only defence they have. But strap in, because the next machine on our list highlights an entirely different tactic. This one involves casinos using their own loyalty programs as a weapon against savvy players. Machine number 3, triple Red Hot 7's free games. On the surface, it looks like a simple 3-reel classic. But former slot directors say this specific version became a headache once casinos realised how it interacted with their loyalty programs. Triple Red Hot 7's free games has a bonus round that hits unusually often. Its base game RTP is decent, about 94 to 95%, and those frequent free spin bonuses add even more player value. Now throw in casino comps on top. Free play, point multipliers, cashback for VIPs. The outcome? Smart players with high-tier cards were edging towards an overall return of 100% plus on this machine by stacking their loyalty perks with the game's generous payout pattern. Essentially, a low-budget grinder who maxed out their comps could squeeze a slight advantage on triple Red Hot 7 free games, especially on double-point days. This wasn't a deliberate flaw in the game's design. It was the casino miscalculating how their reward program overlapped with the game's math. One former casino host revealed an internal analysis showing that certain platinum-tier players were actually making a small profit playing this slot when all perks were factored in. That set off alarm bells. Slot machines are never supposed to have a positive expected value for the customer. Instead of nerfing the loyalty program, which would anger their best customers, the casinos chose a stealthy fix: hide the game from those players. Over the last few years, Triple Red Hot 7's free games units were gradually relocated to areas where data showed high-tier loyalty members rarely go. In many casinos, that meant the smoking sections on the periphery of the floor. It turns out a lot of the older, wealthy VIP gamblers can't stand smoky areas and stick to the nicer, non-smoking zones. By moving these machines into the haze, management ensured that the people most likely to exploit them would never run into them by accident. A fauna compliance officer confirmed the corporate teams actively track what games VIP players frequent. If too many top-tier members start winning more than expected on a particular slot, it gets flagged for floor adjustment. Triple Red Hot 7's free games earned the dubious honor of being one of the most flagged games across multiple properties. If you're ever looking for this machine, make sure the title specifically says free games on the Triple Red Hot 7's logo. That's the giveaway. There are other Red Hot 7's versions without free spins that don't offer the same generous odds. Insiders joke that some of these cabinets even had a tiny gold star sticker on them, marking them as the hot version. But don't rely on that. The bottom line is, casinos love to advertise their loyalty programs and perks. But if you actually use those perks to tip the odds, they'll quietly rearrange the world to stop you. It's like handing you a coupon and then hiding the best deal in the store. By now, you're seeing how far casinos will go to protect their advantage. And it gets even trickier from here. Machine number 4. Quick Hit Platinum Triple Blazing 7s. On the surface, it's just another flashy video slot. But insiders from its manufacturer say this specific version has an unusual quirk. It hits bonuses and small wins about 30% more often than the average slot. It was built to give players frequent action. Lots of little payouts to keep them engaged. And it worked too well. When casinos first installed Triple Blazing 7s, they noticed low-budget players could sit and play for ages on a small bankroll, thanks to all those bonus rounds propping them up. Great for the player, not so great for the casino's bottom line. They make money on volume of bets, not letting someone milk one machine for hours. The response: hide it in plain sight. Casinos quietly relocated this game to the most out-of-the-way sections of the floor. Former star from one Vegas resort said the Triple Blazing 7's units were moved near a back exit and an old buffet hallway. Anywhere fewer people would notice them. And it paid off for the house. A data analyst shared that in a prime spot, a Triple Blazing 7's machine made about $320 a day profit. But in a lousy location, that dropped to around $160. Meanwhile, the casino filled that prime spot with a different, tighter slot that now pulls in over $500 a day. In other words, by shuffling this machine into a corner and replacing it with a moneymaker, the casino increased overall profits. They'd rather sacrifice a little revenue on the hidden quick hit than give up a lucrative spot for it. If you want to find this slot, you have to look hard. Check the game titles for Quick Hit Platinum Triple Blazing 7s. There are tons of quick hit games out there, but only the Triple Blazing 7s variant has the generous hit rate. It's usually a penny denomination game, which is exactly why savvy low-budget gamblers love it. You can bet just a few cents per spin and still be eligible for its jackpot prizes if you land enough quick hit symbols. Players who discover this machine often stick with it exclusively, since it lets their money last much longer than the typical slot. The casinos are aware that a handful of informed players will seek it out, and they're willing to live with that. Better to have a small cult following playing a hidden, high RTP game than to let a high-visibility machine teach everyone that slops can actually be not so greedy. Think of this like a chess move. The casino moved a strong piece for players into a corner to protect the king, their profits. Now, the next machine is a vintage classic with odds so favourable the casinos had to get creative to keep it under wraps. Machine number 5, Double Diamond, VID White and Blue Edition. This patriotic-themed 3-reel slot became almost extinct on casino floors, and it's easy to see why once you know its stats. In some configurations, the gameplay is old-school simplicity. 3 reels, classic symbols, no bonus rounds or gimmicks. According to one retired slot tech, these machines were hits in the 90s. But by the 2000s, casinos were quietly pulling them out in favor of flashier, lower RTP games that made more money. Still, in certain places, casinos couldn't get rid of them entirely. Some jurisdictions or property owners insisted on keeping a few mechanical real classics to satisfy regulations or nostalgic customers. So the few remaining double diamond RWB slots were hidden in plain sight. Many casinos moved them into the high-limit room, but importantly, set them to accept quarters or $1 bets, not just high denominations. Technically, anyone could play them cheaply. But psychologically, most regular patrons won't wander into the high-limit area thinking anything there costs less than $5 a spin. It was the perfect cover. The machine stays available to meet any rules and appease diehards, yet it's practically invisible to the average player. A former compliance officer told a story of a regulatory audit at his casino. Inspectors asked to see their mechanical reel games, which the law required them to have. Management led them to a side corner of the high-limit lounge where a couple of dusty double diamonds sat. Yes, they were operational and open for play. Case closed. The rules didn't say the casino had to advertise them or put them front and center. By tucking them away, the casino stayed within the law while protecting its bottom line. If you're intent on finding one, look for the distinctive red, white and blue coloration on the machine and the double diamond logo together. Not just any double diamond. It has to specifically mention red, white and blue, sometimes nicknamed the patriotic version internally. You'll likely find it off in a corner or mixed among high-limit slots, deliberately out of the spotlight. It's a classic example of how casinos meet requirements on paper, but manipulate visibility in practice, like a magician keeping the real trick just out of view. Now comes a machine that casinos wish they could erase for a very different reason. It's one of the few slot machines where skill truly matters, and that terrifies them. Machine number 7, Zombie Apocalypse. This was one of the new breed skill-based slot machines. The idea was radical. Mix video game elements into a slot to attract younger players who grew up with PlayStations and Xboxes. In Zombie Apocalypse, the base game works like a normal slot, but if you trigger the bonus, you suddenly find yourself in a first-person shooter minigame, blasting at zombies on the screen. Your payout from the bonus round depends on how many targets you hit. In other words, your skill actually changes your winnings. It sounded like a cool innovation, and casinos initially hoped games like this would bring a new audience. But here's what happened. Skilled players practiced and got really good at the bonus game. According to a former game developer involved with testing, proficient players were achieving effective payback percentages that or above 100% during the bonus rounds. In plain terms, a gamer with good aim could erase the house edge, at least on the bonus part of the play. Even average players could noticeably improve their returns by getting better at the minigame. For casinos, this was a nightmare in the making. They absolutely do not want slots where a player's skill can flip the math on them. Rather than openly yank these machines and admit the whole experiment was a bust, casinos took a quieter approach. They relegated Zombie Apocalypse and similar skill slots to the most out-of-the-way corners and let them rot. Former staff reported that these games often ended up near seldom-used entrances, in hallways leading to convention areas, or squeezed into sections of the floor under renovation tarps. And since these machines were more complex, with special controls, sensors and high-end graphics, they started breaking down frequently. Management wasn't eager to fix them promptly either. A neglected machine that's often out of service naturally doesn't get much play. Effectively, the casinos made the skill slots disappear without literally removing them overnight. Industry insiders say within a couple years of introduction, most major casino chains quietly gave up on the whole skill-based slots idea. They learned a hard lesson. The last thing they want on their floor is a game where a talented player can tilt the odds. Traditional slots are predictable for the house because everyone has the same odds. But a skill element throws that predictability out the window. So while you might still find a Zombie Apocalypse machine or two if you explore a big casino's darkest corners, don't expect it to be working or worth playing unless you're an expert sharpshooter. Casinos all but hope you forget these games ever existed. Now, if you think these tactics are crafty, wait until you hear about the next machine. It's a seemingly innocuous game with a feature so exploitable that casinos literally have their security watching for people trying to take advantage of it. Machine number 8, Ocean Magic Grand. On the surface, it's a whimsical undersea slot with floating bubble symbols, but those bubbles created a loophole casinos wish you didn't know about. See, the game's bubbles drift upward each spin and turn whatever symbol they touch into a wild. Crucially, if a player leaves with bubbles still on the screen, those bubbles remain for the next player. This means a savvy onlooker can wander by, spot an Ocean Magic Grand machine loaded with ready-to-pop bubbles, and swoop in for an almost guaranteed boosted payout on the next few spins. According to a former surveillance operator, there's a small subculture of bubble hunters, players who do laps checking every Ocean Magic Grand for leftover bubbles. It's not illegal or even against the rules. They're just capitalizing on the game's design. The edge is small. A handful of spins with extra wilds can tip the odds in their favor briefly. But it's basically free money if you find the right machine at the right time. Casinos have mixed feelings. These bubble hunters won't break the bank, but management hates seeing players deliberately scout games and exploit states, because it educates the public that not all slots are purely random dumb luck. The response has been subtle but telling. Casinos stop promoting Ocean Magic Grand and move these machines to spots where any would-be bubble hunter sticks out like a sore thumb. Former floor staff say you'll often find Ocean Magic tucked in direct view of security desks or near staff-heavy areas. If someone is pacing around eyeing bubble levels, they'll be noticed and potentially approached by an attendant asking if they need help. A gentle deterrent. One insider recounted how at one casino, after noticing a regular morning player consistently cherry-picking bubbled machines and eking out small profits, management simply relocated those slots to a more central, observed area. The player's sneaky routine suddenly wasn't so sneaky anymore. This way, casinos didn't have to ban anyone or remove the game. They just made advantage play inconvenient. Ocean Magic Grand remains on floors for anyone to play. But the odds you'll walk up to a perfect setup machine by chance are slim. And if you're actively hunting for it, the eye in the sky knows. And now we arrive at our final machine. Not actually a slot machine at all, but something casinos are required to offer and absolutely despise. Because played right, it can beat them at their own game. Machine number 9, full pay jacks or better video poker, 9-6. We include it because it's arguably the best bet for a low-budget player in the whole casino. About 99.5% payback with perfect play. And casinos wish you'd ignore it. They keep a couple of these machines around to appease the sharp gamblers and meet the expectations of serious video poker fans. But they hide them as much as possible. Casinos typically tuck their 9-6 jacks or better units into out-of-the-way spots, like a lonely row by a parking garage hallway or a corner of the floor where tourists never wander. Meanwhile, the video poker machines you see in the busy, convenient areas almost always have worse pay tables, maybe returning 2 to 4% less to players. Most people can't tell the difference just by looking. So unless you know to specifically seek out the full pay version, you'll end up playing the sucker version. It's like fulfilling the letter of the law by offering free water, but making sure all the menus and waiters push the expensive soda. The good game is technically available if you know to ask, but you'll never see a neon sign pointing to it. Now, we've pulled back the curtain on 9 low-budget, jackpot-capable machines that casinos intentionally keep off your radar. Each one has its own reason, maybe a sky-high RTP, an exploitable quirk, or an odd effect on player behavior. But the pattern is the same. The house makes more money when you don't know about these options. Understanding these dynamics doesn't guarantee you'll win. The house edge is still the house edge. But it does mean you can make more informed choices and stretch your bankroll further. In a casino designed to lead you straight to the worst odds, now you know where some of the best odds are hiding. Subscribe for more insider info that casinos definitely don't want you to know.